Hi, it's Paula from Paula Quilting. Welcome back to my channel. I've been showing you a thread painting before, but I think it's such a great technique that it's good to have a video just about that, you know, not as a part of a project. So what I use, or what I call a thread painting, is basically a technique called couching, but thread painting sounds nicer. So when I'm using it when I'm working with blocks which are quite not that fancy. You know, you maybe did some testing blocks, and you want to use them up. You've got some orphan blocks to make, I don't know, a pouch, a bag, a book cover. I've got some tutorials for that, and that block doesn't look that great on its own. That is a great technique to add some interest to it. I will show you later some of the examples where I've done it. I'm still working on charity donation pouches. So this is just the back of a shirt, which I've used just as one plank of fabric to make a pouch, so there's no patchwork on it at all. So that's a great opportunity to add a little bit, again, interest by using that technique. Where else could you use it? Really anywhere. If you feel like you want to add a little bit of extra texture to a project you're making, use this technique. You can really have a lot of fun with that. What I'm using is a floss, is a cotton floss. I use a lot of leftovers. I do embroidery as well by hand, so I've got a lot of kind of leftover bits and pieces. That's a great opportunity to use them up. This is cotton, but you know, if you're making a pouch or maybe a bag or something like that, it's not necessarily needs to be a pure cotton. You can use cheaper floss threads as well. It will work nicely too. So, you know, especially if you're trying to test how it's going to work, or you're learning this technique, don't necessarily use the best items. Just go with something cheaper. So in the first tutorial I've mentioned this technique, or one of the first tutorials I've mentioned this technique. I actually use a straw to kind of guide my thread down to the foot and the needle. I just stick a straw here on the machine with sellotape, or painter's tape is even better. So I will refer you to this video if you want to have a look at that. In this tutorial I will be doing it as a kind of free hand thread painting. So I will just use my hand to guide the fabric and guide the thread. Now you kind of have to look at what type of fit you've got for your machine. The best foot you can have is something that kind of will hold your thread in the middle as you're guiding it, like something like this. Or my walking foot is even better. It's got that nice kind of groove in the middle. That will work as well, as far as it's kind of there's something that will hold that floss going in the place. Open toe, not necessary unless you're using the straw, because that will guide your thread directly to where it needs to be. It might be a little bit more difficult because there will be nothing here to kind of hold that floss in place. So you kind of have to perhaps experiment with the fit you've got. Color wise, you can use whatever colors you wish. I've got lots of leftovers, so I sometimes just go with, you know, with a mixture. In here I've chosen 3 colors will kind of correspond with that shirt color. So again, you can go with your imagination how much of each color or which color to use. It's up to you. So this one is kind of leftover, so let's start from that. Now you want to use a zigzag stitch, which is not very narrow and not very wide. You want to just go around that floss thread, but not kind of too much on the other sides, and obviously it needs to be wide enough to catch it from both sides. So my machine is set up at the moment to 2.5, but again, each machine might be a little bit different, so you may need to do a little bit of sampling there. Now the how often that zigzag going up and down, the stitch kind of length, I've got it set up to 1.5. If you go narrower, it kind of goes, you know, you will see more thread than floss. So again, do some sampling, see what you like the best. You can match your thread you will have on the machine with your floss, or I usually just go with a cream colors, which kind of blends in, and then I don't have to worry about changing the threads in between different colors of the floss. But again, that's up to you. If you use color coordinated thread with your floss, you will have even better effect, because the thread will kind of disappear on that floss. So lots of options here, and you have a different outputs depending how you go about it. That's the beauty of this process. You can really use up all the floss you've got, all the leftovers. The floss maybe that kind of smells sometimes. Sometimes I buy floss like from, you know, second-hand shops or from sales, and they do sometimes smell because people, you know, either maybe smoking, or they were kind of held for quite long time in the conditions where they got that moldy smell. So that's a good time to use them up for items that you can wash. So when I do embroidery itself, I cannot wash that piece, so I need to use either thread which is not smelling or new thread floss. But if I'm using it for anything quilted that will be washed, then that's fine, because after I make it, I'll pop it into the machine, and that floss will be obviously refreshed. Where to start? Wherever you want. This piece is quilted. It's got three layers already. It's lightly quilted. You can, if you like, go over your quilting lines with your floss, so you will cover that quilting thread will be not visible. That's quite interesting effect as well. Or just make a new design. If you want specific design, draw it first with either pen which is water soluble, or heat, disappearing in the heat. I normally just like to play with it. I don't plan anything, I just start from the top somewhere. So I put my foot down, I put my needle down, and I'm just making sure that my thread is in the middle there, where the needle will go up and down on the sides. After a few stitches, I normally let the machine actually kind of turn that fabric a little bit. I'm just holding it very loosely towards me, that floss, and I kind of let the machine do whatever it wants. If it turns the fabric a little bit, that's fine. As far as my floss there is still in the middle and is being catched, I'm okay with it. If I want a bigger angle somewhere, then I will just lightly move that fabric as it goes. Just lightly guide it, and always look at that needle and the floss there to make sure it's catching the thread. When I get to the edge, I will just turn around and then figure out where I want to more or less go, because like I said, it's all kind of very organic, very natural way of doing it. There is nothing specific here I want to do, which I like as well. It's you never know what you will come up with. Just make sure you're keeping an eye on your needle and on your thread. I'm keeping it a little up because I don't know, with this foot it's kind of easier doing it that way, but obviously depending on your foot you might like to keep your thread down and perhaps hold it with, you know, with fingers here, and then you can kind of turn it around a little bit and follow with your fabric there as well. Again, I got to the end, I will turn around and add another stitch. So this is basically it. As you can see, it's not very complicated but very effective technique. So I will carry on with this piece, and I've got a few more I need to finish off as well, and I will show you some example of the finished work. Before I show you my finished project, just a quick reminder where you can find me and how you can support my work. You can subscribe to my website to be notified when new tutorials, products or patterns are released. You can find me on my Facebook page, Pola Photo, or you can join my group page, Pola Quilting with Friends, where we all share work made inspired by my tutorials and answer any questions you may have. There is Instagram account called Pola Quilting, and if you like to share something you made based on my tutorials, please tag me using hashtag Pola Quilting with Friends. To support my work, please like, comment and share when you see my posts or tutorials. Let your quilting friends know about this channel and invite them to the group and subscribe to my channel. If you like to contribute extra, you can use super thanks on YouTube or buying me virtual tea, coffee or lunch available on my page. All links are in the description below. I would like to thank you all for all the support so far and letting me grow in what I do. So here I've finished thread painting on the bits I will be making into the pouches. It doesn't have to be floss, just remember that. You can use some leftovers of maybe yarn you've got around, that will look very nice as well. And if you're making maybe a bag, you can also add later some beading and things like that and start embellishing more. So it's really kind of a starting point for some projects. For me, this is kind of the end of that embellishment. I will leave it as this. And here are some examples of other slabs which I will use to make book covers from these tutorials. So I've got two which I would like to make covers for, and I will use that. So as a background are some unfinished projects somebody gave me, so I cut them into the size and then added some color with the threads. I think it makes the project much more interesting with that, and you can really have fun with adding layers and layers of the colors with those floss threads. If you want to see how my pouches finish at the end, please be sure to come back for show and tell. I've made more than 40 pouches so far for both my charity project and some for some presents for family and friends. So there's gonna be a big show and tell when I have them all done. Thank you for watching. I hope you'll share this tutorial, subscribe if you haven't done so. Happy sewing and see you next time.